Welcome to the University of Findlay's Arts and Culture Show. I'm your host, Sharinda Welton, and I am very excited that we are welcoming to the set today Nelly's Echo from the season 3 of The Voice. Welcome, Nelly.
Thanks for having me, Sharinda.
We are so honored that you are here on set with us today. You drove all the way in from Maryland just for us today, is that correct?
I actually came from Albany, so I took a detour from Maryland to Albany.
New York?
New York, yeah.
Okay.
And then from Albany, came over here, so it was like a good... I was supposed to be here yesterday, but the storm was crazy.
On the east, it was really bad.
It was bad. So I stopped by in Buffalo, New York, and just got a hotel there. And so that way I can be here and not be in an accident somewhere in the...
You are a wise man.
Thank you. Thank you. You all hear that. I'm a wise man.
So let's talk about your adventures and your journey since season 3 on The Voice.
Yes.
Oftentimes when people are watching the television show such as The Voice, they assume that the people that audition just got up one morning and said, I'm just going to go stand in line and audition for this show and hope that this is my big break. But that's not the case. Many of the artists are professional artists. Mm-hmm. They have been honing and working their craft for many years. They've been inspired by many different things.
That's very true.
And you have one of those special stories.
Yes.
So you had an adventure before The Voice, and you've had a continued adventure after The Voice. Mm-hmm. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start in the middle, the beginning?
We can start from the beginning.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. So the beginning of your journey, you have an accent that does not sound like Baltimore or New York. So your accent, does it tell us that you are from somewhere in the world besides America?
It's funny you said that. And I know we're talking backstage before the show about where to kind of start or what story to tell.
Yeah.
But it's funny you mentioned the accent because I liken my music to something you're familiar with but haven't quite heard before, because I'm a student of the world. I'm a student of world music and cultures and the different varieties that the world has to present. So my accent is kind of like my music. I was a military brat when I was back home in Nigeria. And for any military brat, you know that you never stay in one place, you always move around.
That's correct, yes.
And part of my reality growing up as a military brat in Nigeria, which is where I was born and where I'm from, was my father, my family, we all moved from location to location within Nigeria. And Nigeria is such a faceted, multicultural, multi-ethnic, country in of itself that because we moved around so much, I got a taste of everything, but not enough to really settle down on a particular accent from a particular place.
Okay, so if someone is from Nigeria and they meet you, they would do the same thing I'm doing. Where's your accent from? It's not from one specific spot that I can identify. Is that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So if you're from Nigeria, you know I'm from Nigeria.
Okay.
As soon as I say hello, you know, oh, you're Nigerian, right? And then it becomes a guessing game because there are 3 major ethnicities in Nigeria. There's Igbo, there's the Yoruba, and there's the Hausa. I'm actually a minority. So I'm a minority there, minority here. Back home, I'm from Benin, which is a minority within the Nigerian, cultural system. So in that guessing game of questions between me and that other Nigerian, eventually they'll realize, oh, you're a Benin boy.
Very fascinating. So with your travels and your father being in the military, when did you come to the United States?
My family and I came to the U.S. in 1996. And long story short, without going into all the minute details, for security reasons,
sure.
My family and I came to this country as political refugees.
Okay.
So I remember very vividly how when we were coming here, they played us a tape as to what America is going to feel like and look like. And because of our circumstances, because of the circumstances that led us to leaving our country, we came here. We moved from like living in a mansion with a big, wide open space, 3-car garage, a comfortable lifestyle. And I remember my first impression of America was we're walking out of the airplane in New York, LaGuardia, and We come out of the airplane. It's me, my mother, and my 3 brothers. And all we had to our names were 2 suitcases. And the cold that hit us on that November, it was September night was an eye opener. Yeah.
So a shock.
It was a shock, yes. Like, oh, it's happening. But we're here now. It's the land of opportunity and dreams. So let's make our dreams and opportunities come true.
And so I didn't hear you mention your father in that transition.
Yes.
I pray and hope that he is still alive, and
You're very good.
because that is not a good segue to hear about the father being in the military and then your mother and your brothers and yourself coming to America, and he's not with you.
No, it's actually it's a good ending to this continuing story. But that chapter, with regards to that chapter, so he was incarcerated for plotting something he did not do. He was falsely accused. Long story short, he got exonerated. And a couple of years later, after we were here and settled here in America, he got released, his name got cleared, and now he goes back and forth between America and Nigeria. So it's a great thing.
That's, wow. What a wonderful, wonderful story.
Great story.
And I'm so thankful that it's not an ending, it's a continuation.
Yeah.
Just as it's been a continuation for the rest of your family.
True.
So then how does music tie into this? Many times when we're going through really wonderful times, and I'm speaking as we because I'm a musician myself.
I did not know that.
Yes.
What do you play?
We'll talk about that later.
Oh, cool. You got to tell me. Just give me like a hint.
Well, I'm a vocalist.
Really?
So, yes.
I did not know
But
that.
this is about you. So let's go back to...
Oh, you're singing tonight.
We celebrate through music.
Yeah.
We are most creative sometimes in our lowest points when music is our comforter. So how does music tie in, and when did you realize it was your friend?
That's a great question. I've always known that music and I were inseparable from the very beginning. And she agrees with me because as a kid growing up in Nigeria, when we're in the classrooms and we're just doing our thing in the classroom, I was the guy singing. You know, I was the guy that made up a song about every situation. You know, dog is shaking right now and wagging her tail. I was that guy, you know.
Yeah.
And so I guess for me, yes, it was a coping mechanism. Not to say I was bullied or I had a rough childhood, but you know, I was a human being like everyone else. I went through the same experiences. So it was a coping mechanism. It was also a mechanism to express myself. I was always good with sports. I played soccer. So that was one avenue to express myself, but music was another way. However, growing up as a kid in Nigeria, it wasn't something that was reinforced per se. It wasn't something that, you know, unlike the Western culture where, you know, take your kids out to piano classes, and vocal lessons.
Sure.
That wasn't an issue. It was go to school and become a doctor, engineer, or a lawyer, which I became a doctor eventually. But, so the music wasn't really reinforced until I got here. Then when I first got to America, I was exposed to avenues to kind of express my creativity, open mics, singing at the school choir, and one thing led to another, and then it snowballed into what you see today.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned that you are a doctor.
I'm a physical therapy doctor, so doctor of physical therapy.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
So you continue to achieve many things that some people think, if I do this, then I don't have to, then I'm done, I'm good. But it sounds like from maybe the opportunities that you had as a child to be exposed to so many things that you have continued within your adulthood to continue to better yourself on a regular basis in many different avenues, which keeps you well-rounded.
That's so true. There's something to be said for leaving your comforts or being forcefully removed from your comforts and having to start all over. It then takes away that fear of starting all over or taking on a new challenge. I think coming here and having to start from nothing, you know, and start from nobody, like no one knew who we were, but it was always instilled in us that, well, two things. Coming here and starting from nothing gave us the belief that we could. But also, my parents also instilled in my brothers and I that, you know, we come from royalty. You know, I come from a royal bloodline. So my father, you know, as growing up as a kid, always taught me how to never look down on the world, but never, you know, bow down to the world too. To kind of know that regardless of where I go, I deserve to be there and I deserve to succeed. So that has been imprinted in me and my brothers to the point where now it doesn't matter what life throws at us, we are going to find a way to become successful regardless of the situation.
And my father called that practice makes perfect. Take the opportunities that are the scariest, figure out a way to meet the scariness and make it part of a routine so it becomes the practice, which then becomes the norm.
That is beautiful.
So.
Were you the only child? Or?
I'm not, nope. But this interview is about you,
I like
Nelly.
how you keep doing it back. It should be about both of us. It's fine.
So let's talk about Nelly's Echo, because that is
Okay.
not your real name. That
it's
is a
not.
name that you have coined for your music, for your followers, for who
IRS.
you are. Yes, IRS. So how did you come up with the name Nelly's Echo? I love this story, and I think our viewers would enjoy hearing about this, now knowing a little bit about your life's journeys and what has inspired you to be a musician. And so Nelly's Echo, tell us about that.
Yeah, so I've always believed that in using anyone's platform to heal, to spread positivity, to spread hope. So I never wanted anything I was a part of, especially music, to feel like it was a one-way street. I wanted it to feel like it was a give and take, because I feel music is a conversation, a give and take. So Nelly's Echo is, the premise of Nelly's Echo is, it's a give and take, it's a two-way street. So Nelly refers to me, the musician, creating the ambiance, and Echo refers to the audience's appreciation of that ambiance.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And so with that appreciation is a response.
It's a response.
You feed off of the response,
And
I'm
vice
sure.
versa,
Yes. And I know that when you've performed here on campus, the students have responded very well, and we've had community come out to your shows in the past, and
cool.
they have responded very well.
That's so true.
And so I think that this would be a great time. I know that you had accepted the invitation to bring a guitar along and to share some of your talents with us. And so I think this would be a great time to share with our viewers some of your amazing musical talent.
Thank you.
And I think that you have prepared a little bit of an arrangement of a few different songs that we may recognize, and then I think you've done the same with some of your original music that you're going to share with us. Is that correct?
Yes. So the song I'll be playing today, I was thinking about this backstage. What should I do per se? But I just I go with my heart. And the song, it's going to be a medley of songs.
Okay.
But the original song, just kind of give the viewers a premise of the original song, is based off the idea that when you are in a toxic or unfulfilling relationship, you might still love the person, there might still be love there, but you realize that this is not going to go anywhere. Sometimes the mature, smart thing to do is to say goodbye. So this is my playful take on a significant topic, and I'll add some cover songs, you know, in that whole medley that people might recognize. So.
Awesome. Well, grab that guitar and make your music. So we've talked about your wonderful music, and we are excited that you brought your guitar along, and you are now going to play something for us.
Yes, I am. This song is called Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I cannot afford Jennifer Lopez anymore. This will have to be goodbye. Oh, Lord, oh, yeah. Oh, Lord, oh, yeah. insist doing life like this? Why do we go on when the love is gone? Holding hands and doing our dance on a sinking boat. Why even try? All we do is fight. Then we try to hide the tears in our eyes. Holding hands in sweet romance on a sinking boat. I don't wanna hurt you anymore. I don't wanna hurt you anymore. I don't wanna hurt you anymore. Everything we had was a lie. This will have to be goodbye. Going fast. We were never made to last. We never shared a laugh, but we gave it all we had in life. You crash and you burn. You're back to living, you're back to learn. Disappearing acts in a movie made for two. It's time we face the facts. Let's do what we need to do, Sharinda. But in this life, you crash and you burn. You live and you learn. I don't wanna hurt you anymore. I don't wanna hurt you anymore. I don't wanna hurt you anymore. Everything we had was a lie. This will have to be goodbye. Everything comes to an end. Eventually they say, eventually they say, our stories will never end. If it ends today, if it ended Finlay. I don't wanna hurt you anymore. I don't wanna hurt you anymore. I don't wanna hurt you anymore. Everything we had was a lie. This will have to be goodbye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Everything we had was a lie. This will have to be goodbye. Goodbye, Jennifer Lopez, Halle Berry, Taylor Swift. I'm just joking, I have a fiance. Ignore me. Goodbye. So this song has a lot of verses, and I won't do all the verses to this song. We'll be here for 30 minutes. You got a fast car, I wanna take it to anywhere. Maybe we can make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Started from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll get something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove. This is that ice cold Michelle Pfeiffer, that white coat. This one for them good girls, straight masterpiece. Styling, wildin', living it up in Finley. I got Chucks on, Ritz and Lorraine. Gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty. I'm too hot, hot damn. Got the police and the fireman, I'm too hot, hot damn. Dragon wanna retire, man, I'm too high. Good God. Say my name, you know who I am. I'm too high. Hot damn. I'm about that money. Break it down. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. So remember when you were driving in your car, speed so fast I felt like I was drunk. City lights laid out before us, and your arm felt nice wrap around my shoulder. I got a feeling that I belong. I got a feeling I could be someone, be someone. Uptown funk you up, uptown funk you up, uptown funk you up, uptown funk you up. I am singing at UFTV tonight. It's time for me to stop, 'cause this is a 10-minute song.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You're very
and
welcome.
thanks for adding a little flair for Finley.
I had to.
And I need to introduce the University of Finley's therapy dog, Mishka, who keeps trying to visit with you. She met you offset earlier today, and
She approved of the song.
she did approve of the song. She approves of you. She's enjoyed her visit with you, as have we. I do want to touch base. We talked about what led you to music. And then I had mentioned you had been on season 3 of The Voice.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about the adventure since The Voice.
Cool.
What doors have opened for you? You had mentioned a few minutes ago about the TED Talks. So
Yes.
did that door open for you after season 3, or was that something that was in the works?
So yeah, I had a great time, first of all, on The Voice. Thank you very much to The Voice and all the crew and all the cast behind the scenes. A fantastic chapter to my life that is still ongoing. But as a musician, it's still a hustle. It's still
Sure.
a grind every day. So you have to go out there and approach people to play and add value to the establishments. But what The Voice has done for me, it has given me that thing on my resume that allows that conversation to happen easier, so which is a great thing. Now, with regards to the TED Talk, it was on my bucket list on things I wanted to do in my life, was to give a TED Talk or more, which I will. But it just so happened that one of my biggest fans and mentors, unbeknownst to me, was on the panel of the people that selected people for the TED Talks.
Oh, wow.
And he knew my story, he knew my background, and one day at a show, we were just talking like you and I are talking right now. And I had mentioned to him what my bucket list was, and I'd mentioned the TED Talks. And you should have seen his face just light up like a Christmas tree. And he said, "Oh, really? I can get you in." And long story short, I think in 2016, was it last year? 2016 August 2016, I gave my TED Talk in Delaware, and I had a standing ovation, which was great.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah, it was a great
so
experience.
some of our viewers may not be familiar with what TED Talk is.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about what TED Talk is, and then how they could go about finding your video?
Cool. So TED Talks are just pretty much people who are expertise in their lines of work or professions. People who are doing things that might be considered, monumental and groundbreaking, from a macro level to a micro level. They're given a platform to share, like a 7, 10, 15-minute platform to share what it is they're doing to the world, so they can enlighten the world on what they do. And what I gave my TED Talk on was the art of winning over a crowd, because that's what I do every day. So I have to walk into a room as the stranger in that room, and by the time I'm done playing for that room, I want to walk out of the room having like 50, 100 friends. So the art of winning over a crowd was my TED Talk topic. And if you want to look up that TED Talk, you can just type in Nelson Emokpae. That's Emokpae. That's my government name. And you can look up the TED Talk, and hopefully if you like it, you can share it. That would mean a lot to me.
And it's online.
It's online, yeah.
Okay,
YouTube.
awesome, wonderful. And so you've had the opportunity to expand the opportunities of music and where you play through the voice.
Yes.
So what are one or two of the places that have opened up that have been your faves? They're standouts that you're like, this is something that I'm so glad this door opened because of the opportunities I chose to take a chance on.
I'll give two answers. So one of the first ones, the one that comes to mind, there have been so many, by the way.
Sure.
Like, I feel like my favorite shows are the shows I am playing. I don't like to live in the past per se, or look too much to the future, but just live in the present. But the ones that spring to mind, I play this winery in Washington State. It's called the Mary Hill Winery. It's like the most beautiful ambience you can think of. Just flowers, vineyard. It's an elevated stage, and overlooking that stage is the bigger stage, which I'm going to play at. That's my goal. But and then overlooking that stage is like I think it's a river that flows, and it's just lush green and beautiful scenery. But the cool thing about that show, a couple of things. So the Mary Hill Winery is in the middle of several major cities. And to get to the winery, you have to drive like an hour and a half, 2 hours to get there. Now, here I am with my guitar, travel all the way from Baltimore, Maryland to get there. And I'm thinking, who's going to come watch what I do? And before I start playing, people start trickling in. Come to find that they came to watch me play. We're talking about 50 to 100 people in the room, right? And not just that, they drove some 3 hours from Canada to get there.
Wow.
And this is 2 years in a row now. They've done this consistently. And then I walk, after the show is done, I walk to the back of the room and I look at the board. They have like a little chalkboard where they asked guests, who was your favorite artist this summer or this winter or whatever, or this fall, excuse me. And then you see Dave Matthews Band, you see some big names, and then you see Nelly's Echo. I'm like, oh my God. I'm on the same chalkboard as some of my favorite artists.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's one that comes to mind. And in 2011, before The Voice, I got to perform for the troops in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, as a military brat. That's like, regardless of what the politics is behind anything, as a military brat, I can appreciate any man or woman that says, I'm going to give my life in service to my country and put myself at harm's way for my country. So that was one of the biggest opportunities ever for me.
Wow. Isn't it neat when you're provided with an opportunity and you take a chance and then you get to have stories to tell, where there's so many people that are afraid of the opportunity and never take the chance, and then they wonder what if, or they live in a world of regrets. So I'm so thankful that you have chosen to live in a world of opportunity, and that you have come today and that you've shared with us and are going to continue to share your talents on campus.
I will.
Obviously, you didn't just come for the television show, but man, it's been amazing having you here.
I had a good time.
And I wish you the best in your continuation, because your story is definitely not over. It's just beginning. So many wonderful things. And we were talking on set before we went on the air that we've known each other 5-6 years, and it's been so fun to celebrate all the different accomplishments with some amazing videos you've done, with singles you've produced and released. And so if someone wants to follow you on Facebook or online, they want to download any of your music, could you tell us how they could go about doing that, please?
Yes, you can go on, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. My Twitter, my social media handle is everything at Nelly's Echo, NELLYSECHO. And you can go on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, and just type in Nelly's Echo and download away. But I want to say this too, going into 2018, but starting now. Like, I have so much, like right now I'm in the lab creating music, and I know I can feel this viscerally that 2018 is going to be my breakout year with regards to something latching on to the public and then they running with it, because, you know, my overnight success has been 10 years in the making. And I really need that platform, not so much for myself. I'm happy and fulfilled the way I am right now. But I need that platform to be able to spread whatever it is that my music allows people to feel on a more macro level. Because I feel like in the world we're living right now, not to sound cliche, we need an injection of positivity and hope and life, and not pulling people down or shaming that person. And I feel like my music is going to get people there. So 2018 is going to be my year, and come 2018, this time, we'll be having a totally different conversation than we're having right now.
Awesome. And I know that for the years that I've followed you, your music has done exactly what you have described for me. It's been very inspiring and very encouraging and very uplifting for the way that you choose to include everyone in your audience. And you recognize faces and stories that maybe others are choosing to try and hide and forget. You're bringing them to the forefront for us to be able to not see the problem, but see the opportunities and celebrate the positive in those situations. So thank you for that.
Thanks for having me and believing in me. I appreciate it.
You are so welcome. And we want to thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you at the next segment of the University of Findlay Arts and Culture Show.